Chapter 4. Charlie watched the Utah sky. Just as predicted, the clouds dissipated, the sun came out, and the air was crisp and still. The snow underfoot was perfect. He dropped the snowboard and expertly spun it under his shoe-covered feet. Then he stomped on its edge, flipping it into the air over his head, and caught it without looking. The skeet wrangler stood, splayed his fingers, and 100 of the tiny cams arranged themselves in a dome shape, exactly 20 feet in all directions from Charlie. Charlie stared at the vid streaming into his eyes and grinned. Now that's what I'm talking about. The wrangler swung his arms in a semicircle to view what the combined cams saw from all angles. The director said, "Looks great from here. Check it out." She used her software to extrapolate Charlie's image from half a mile away, zoomed it overhead like a helicopter, and finally got right up in Charlie's face, all without moving one of the skeets. During the run, I'll choose which I think is the optimum point of view. Anybody else can override it and decide what they want to see. Time for your test, Bert. I'll hold steady and see if you can grab your own view independent of mine. The wrangler rolled his hands away from his chest, palms curved down, to check the view from above. Then he flicked the image clockwise and chuckled as the landscape spun like a merry-go-round with Charlie at the center. "Yes, ma'am, it's a beautiful thing. I'm ready whenever you are." The director said, "Not a minute too soon. Everybody else good to go?" They all gave her a thumbs up. She opened the VR lines to the investors. Once they had all arrived, she gave a nod to Charlie. "We're live." A bass synthesizer thrummed a low and ominous pulsing note. All attendees' VR space displayed the spinning N logo, but Charlie watched the investors. He knew 7 of the 9 new investors were already sold. He only needed to keep them warm while he convinced the other 2. Calm and focused, Charlie took these last few seconds to study them. These were the movers, the shakers, the money takers, the decision makers. If they were on board, any project was assured of success. The music crescendoed to a thrilling, sustained chord, and the announcer shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Noble!" Charlie's beaming face appeared in front of the masses, arms raised high and wide, and a VR supernova showered down on him. A giddy cheer rolled up the mountain. His Persuasion Expert program went to work. "Welcome, everybody. Today, you will see a demonstration like nothing you have ever seen before." Charlie turned and raised his hands again, drawing out the cheers. The esteemed Dr. Ray Kurzweil, inventor, futurist, and founder of Singularity University, acted as a commentator. Charlie was thrilled to have Ray participating, since his predictions had led Charlie into nanotechnology. Ray began, "We're here on the top of 9990, the highest peak in Park City, Utah, nearly 10,000 feet above sea level. It's no accident Mr. Noble chose this date, time, and location for his demonstration. Exactly 1 year ago to the minute, Bobby Snowball Bouchine took home the 2034 gold for the OUSA in the downhill snowboard event. The 3D of Bobby accepting the gold medal appeared in everyone's eyes, and the cheer climbed still higher. In just a few minutes, Charlie will snowboard down the challenging 94-turn slope." Charlie took over. "I would like to introduce you to the founder and CEO of Corridor Cyberdynamics, Mr. Rob Reynolds." Charlie swept his arm majestically and stepped back as the rapt spectators responded passionately. Rob seemed to emerge from a tunnel in the snow a few feet to the right of Charlie. As soon as Charlie noticed the sweat on Rob's forehead, he erased it in VR. Rob's eyes darted nervously. "I'm very proud to be here today to help introduce CCD's exciting new product, N-hanced. N is the next generation in human evolution, which many experts are calling a revolution." There was only so much Charlie could do in VR to improve Rob's anemic presentation. As a precaution, he scanned the crowd for potential hecklers. Just as an angular-faced kid opened his mouth, Charlie muted him from the video feed and Rob's ears. Charlie read the twerp's lips as the kid mimed a now innocuous, "Get on with it, asshole." Charlie thought, "Rob, you're going to have to let me enhance you, assuming I live through this." Rob finished up with, "I think you'll be blown away by what you see here today, but you're not here to listen to me, so let me give you back to Charlie." He made a lame attempt at a flourish. Charlie applauded vigorously and stepped to the front. Thank you, Rob. Rob's exit drew polite applause, but Charlie boosted the VR knob until the response was enthusiastic. Rob turned and waved back over his shoulder as he disappeared into the VR tunnel. Charlie's gaze swept the faces, reestablishing contact, drawing them back in from the lost momentum. For all intents and purposes, I will be able to perform as if I were Snowball himself, and it won't be long before you can too. That's why we're up here today. With N-hanced, no one will have to start at the bottom ever again. From now on, we start at the top. He threw out his arms and another cheer showered over him. Charlie turned from side to side, stirring the crowd higher, but he could also feel the bloodlust from those who were betting on his broken neck. He saw the bookmaking ghouls now only gave him a 25% chance of success, with 50% predicting a major injury and the final 25% hoping for his death. The entertainer in him loved it. Charlie studied the investors' reactions. He needed to be careful about how much confidence he showed. These were the most powerful moguls on earth. Since he was not required to be real until the run, he could present a different face to each of them. So he split up and performed 9 private speeches, each like a separate romantic dance, each investor a partner, each a lover, seducing one, submitting to another. The same speech delivered with different body language and eye contact. The most energy devoted to the two who still needed convincing. Little cracks of excitement began to appear in Dr. Kurzweil's typical stoicism. Today, mankind is poised on the threshold of a technological singularity, an explosion in superintelligence. We have gone as far as we can physically and mentally, reworking our genes with Orchard's OGER. The world is loaded with geniuses and people with photographic memory, but it's not enough. We need to slash the time. Slash. The word triggered Charlie's memory of finding Linda's slashed and naked body in her living room. Detectives said it looked like murder, but there was absolutely no physical evidence of the killing itself at the scene. Something impossible these days. That had proven good for Charlie, since he was no longer a suspect, but there were still some detectives who believed he was responsible. Picturing her lying there, he shivered and flicked the image away in time to hear Dr. Kurzweil say, "N-hanced will use the T computers in our brains to let us master whole bodies of knowledge effortlessly." Charlie heard a murmur cascade down the mountainside, gathering in volume across both real and VR attendees. He focused, smiled broadly, and took control. The main problem today is the rate of change is accelerating. By the time we figure out how to turn on a new device, 2 new generations are available. That is no longer acceptable. There were shouts of support from all directions. "You're right about that, and damn straight." Some people applauded and others laughed. Charlie nodded his approval, his fraternity, his camaraderie. Before long, anyone who isn't using N-hanced will be left behind. One of the 2 holdout investors came over to him. Charlie made direct eye contact with the last one and led with a smooth dance step and a gentle caress. The guy backed off, so Charlie smiled, lowered his eyes. "Your lead." People, this will be the end of the days of slow, tedious classroom and computer learning. There will be no more study, no more research. You will simply, Charlie pointed to his head, know something. I couldn't be more excited. Can you tell? Charlie could feel he'd gone a little over the top, so he dialed it down a notch and tried to lighten the mood. Turning to his skeet wrangler, he said, "Hey, Bert, did I forget to take my pill today?" The man's face lit up with a smile, and he blushed from the attention. The rest of the team laughed, as did many of the spectators. The hold investor frowned. Charlie caught his eye privately and shrugged to say, that was for the plebeians. He could feel many of the others leaning in, drawn to the seductive side of N-hanced. They wanted to be his friend, his lover. I believe N will lead us into an unprecedented age of understanding between all people and usher in an era of peace the world has never known. The crowd spun another long cheer. Charlie waited as it built into a chant. Charlie, Charlie, Charlie. His performing side rode it out until it couldn't get much higher. Finally, he raised his hand to speak. While the noise settled, Dr. Kurzweil whispered as if it were a golf tournament. Charlie has taken an unprecedented risk for any product introduction ever. He has never been on a snowboard before. In fact, he hasn't been on a snow sled in over 75 years. Then Ray lost all restraint and improvised away from Charlie's script. "This is one dangerous mountain. I can't imagine how this will turn out." Charlie said, "Let me finish by saying once you experience N-hanced, you will not want to go back. Ladies and gentlemen, from this day forward, mankind will no longer crawl. Starting now, we fly." With that, Charlie threw his board high into the air. Then he just stood there and grinned. As the board reached its apex and began falling straight toward his head, a gasp from the crowd quickly turned into a rumble, then a roar.